Welcome to the Mayor's Update for March 2016. I'm Megan Pembroke, Communications Director for the City of Everett. Each month, we sit down with Mayor Ray Stephanson to talk about issues and projects that are important to you. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. The days are getting longer.
Starting to look like spring out there a little bit.
I finally determined that spring is my favorite season because, you know, the days keep getting longer and you have summer to look forward to, and so I don't like winter anymore.
Well, we're at a good time. It is a time of promise.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I wanted to start by talking about the Streets Initiative, which is obviously a topic we've been covering a lot. But in this past couple of months, we've hit some major milestones, particularly around our housing efforts. So I was hoping you could give us an update on our efforts to house the chronically homeless.
Well, just a quick background on this. This is part of our Streets Initiative process that started with 23 volunteer citizens a couple of years ago. They looked at all the streets issues, and one of the sort of compelling issues that they identified that we've embraced is helping the chronically homeless. And there are some really great models around the country, and we chose Salt Lake City as a community that really has had significant success housing the critically homeless. Over 10 years, 1,000 homeless have been housed in Salt Lake City. So we've had Lloyd Pendleton, who started that program with us. He challenged us to set goals, get everyone involved. So we've had the governor's office involved. The governor was here on February 1st and engaged with a panel. We had a second series of community meetings that same night on February 1st, and over 200 citizens participated, so a lot of interest. And so our first milestone on February 1st was to provide housing for 5 individuals. Those 5 individuals are in shelter. Some are still in treatment, but we've had to provide scattered housing. We don't have dedicated housing yet. By June, July, we have set a goal to have a total of 20 housed, and the same thing will be true. This will be scattered housing. So we have asked, and I'll ask again, that if there are landlords out there that have vacancies, and vacancy rates are really low right now, so it's a bit of a challenge. But you know, the rent's guaranteed, damages, and these people will have wraparound services to help them recover. And so it is, you know, a fairly low risk situation for a landlord. But we're moving on that 20 by mid-year. And we are also in the process of acquiring a piece of property where we'll actually build our first housing units, 60 to 70 units of housing, low barrier housing. Catholic Community Services has been a huge help. They'll help with the architectural design of the building. We'll pursue federal and state funding. We do have a $2 million grant, or excuse me, a request in the legislature. June Robinson, 38th District Legislator, and Senator McCoy are sponsoring that. So we're hopeful we'll get some state help as seed money. But we plan on moving ahead over the next couple years to build our first project for low barrier housing. So I think that we're really taking positive, proactive steps to deal with a problem, Megan, and you and I both know this, that really most every community in the country faces. You can't ignore it, it won't go away. We are really trying to manage it successfully so we don't have undesirable outcomes of, you know, camping along freeways and under freeways. So we have ordinances that will help us with that, but really being proactive about this from the time that we make contact with police officers, with embedded social workers, or if they get into the court system, look for alternative sentencing. Another positive aspect of this is we have a work crew that will start at the end of March that will go out and do cleanup around the community, and particularly areas that have been impacted by the homeless, as a way of working off fines that might be a result of an arrest. So a lot of really good, positive energy. And the thing that's really meant the most to me is how our community has really embraced this. In over 12 years now, I mean, there have been a lot of issues that we've dealt with as a city. We've had a lot of challenges, but by far, I hear more from citizens about the good work that we're doing in this area than any other subject in 12 years. So they get it, they understand it, and they're supportive, and we've got great staff working on it.
Well, that's great. And excuse me, I know you mentioned the social worker. That was another thing that you committed to as part of the Safe Streets plan you announced last fall, was hiring 2 full-time social workers to be embedded with the police department. I know they're doing that hiring in February, or they did that hiring in February, and they're hoping to get them started at the end of the spring. I know I've learned a lot from talking with our social worker just about what the realities of being out on the street is like. Can you talk a little bit about what that program has been like in the short time we've had it?
Well, as part of the 2016 budget, I asked the council to approve over $2 million of additional expense. The reason for that was to have a dedicated police group of about 5 officers, including a sergeant, and 2 embedded social workers to really increase our presence and make contact with the chronically homeless. And so our policing, our sort of traditional policing, has really been transformed into more of a support and help kind of effort. That's not to say that we still make arrests, and we still have, bad people in our community that we have to protect our citizens against, and we do that, and we do that very well, in my opinion. But this gives us the opportunity to get people the help that they need with that embedded social worker, to find out, is it a mental health issue? Is it a substance abuse? What is the challenge? And then getting these individuals connected with the right help. The one thing that I've noticed in talking with a lot of people on the streets is they don't know where to go. It's not that they don't want the help, and frankly, it's not that, some of them that get help are going to slip backwards. I mean, sometimes recovery takes a few times before it sticks, but to not even know where to go, and that's what these embedded social workers and the police officers and all the work that we're doing is that we're giving the chronically homeless a choice of getting clean and sober, getting the medication they need for their mental illness, and to get them back to living a productive and frankly, a life where they can feel good about themselves, and their peers can feel good about the progress they're making. My great hope too is that beyond that, once they do get that help, is to work with organizations like HopeWorks and others that will hire felons and others who have records and get people back into productive work. I think that's really the promise here. That's what our citizens want to see, is they want to help if they believe that it will make a difference in people's lives. And the return on investment, I just mentioned this, I'm sorry to go on about this, but these individuals that are chronic utilizers, they may be using $100,000 to up to $500,000 in services a year. To provide 1 unit of low barrier housing is about $14,000 a year. That is a great investment if we can get those people off the street and get them the help they need. And then the impact on all of the citizens in terms of the community we are and the quality of life that we experience just gets better. So it's really a win-win.
Well, it's great. And as you said, I know there's a lot of people interested in this. So we'd encourage people to go to the website and get more information, sign up for updates. We'll be doing a lot of outreach as we get ready to start work on that facility. So we encourage people to get involved.
You've done some great work in obviously not identifying these individuals by name. We would never do that, but to identify their story. And there are really some, compelling story. People that have come here looking for work and they couldn't find it, or they got hooked on drugs or alcohol, or they couldn't pay for their meds, and they just their lives started spiraling out of control. And it's really gratifying and rewarding to be able to help people. And the other, we've had another half a dozen, as you know, who we have gotten the help they need, and they've moved back home to family, whether it's be Alaska or Florida or California. So these families have opened their arms once again because that person is taking steps to get the help that they need. So it's really been fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Very rewarding.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for joining us. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again next month.